Hello and welcome to the second look from the Anfield wrap after Liverpool have beaten Wolverhampton Wanders by 2-0 at Anfield to finish the Premier League season. Unfortunately, not with a title because Manchester City went to the Amex and took the game away from Brighton and Hove Albion and won it there. I'm Dan Austin, I've got with me Rob Gutmann and Paul Cope. Rob has come dressed in sky blue to pay his own personal respects to Manchester City's 98-point season. This is more of a grey, I'd say. But morning after, Rob, how do you actually feel about it now?
I don't know. I feel sky grey. Yeah, I'm not gutted. I don't think anyone's gutted because I think we knew this was coming. Liverpool finished on a high by completing the job of getting 97 points. We're the most unworthy losers. To say we're losers in this race feels ludicrous. And I think I'd mentally prepared myself after that week where they went to where they played Tottenham and Man U, and I thought there was a real opportunity for them to drop points. In fact, it had to happen in that week, and it didn't. And I think at that moment I knew, I don't know if anybody else did, but I knew that the title was probably gone, barring the sort of miracle we saw in the week. And I think, yeah, it wasn't going to happen. It didn't happen, and now we move on to the wonderful alternative.
Paul, I'd very much talked myself into the fact that it was happening the morning of the game yesterday. I think it was probably partly just because it was dead sunny. It felt like this is a really good day to win a league. But how have you taken it?
I was the same as you. Yeah, after Barca, I'd convinced myself it was going to happen. So I woke up even when I was getting my gear ready on the Saturday. I was going out Saturday night and I thought, I'll get my gear ready for tomorrow. And I ironed the top. And then part of my brain went to me, that's not the top you wear if we win the league. That's not the one that's on the photos. So I changed. I wore something else because I was like, that's the one. And I woke up in the morning and all I was doing was like envisaging Henderson lifting the trophy and going, yeah, this is the day. Same thing.
Did you try and visualise it deliberately?
I was doing visualisations.
I was doing visualisations.
I was thinking everybody should be doing this.
I was doing Mohamed Salah, but you know, it wouldn't get crisp enough in my mind.
Oh, there we go.
The one of the European Cup is very crisp, I can assure you.
We've got that.
I did the visualisation of Glenn Murray, which actually did happen. I just didn't account for the rest of what had to happen down there.
This is what I've learned about all these people who talk about visualisations. You've got to be very specific.
Yeah.
if you can do that bit, you need to do the rest as well.
Boys.
There's a big story about me on the way to Madrid telling some girl about this isn't Ronaldo's story. Ronaldo thinks he's in a movie, his movie, and he's not. One of my mates went to the week, yeah, you forgot to extend that out though. Like, it turned out to be Gareth Bale's movie, which wasn't good for us.
Did Harry Maguire pose while doing this?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So yeah, I was gutted, to be honest. And if it wasn't for the European Cup final, I'd be in a dark box locked away right now. So I feel like we all just everyone's sort of taking it in a similar way, I think, which is very proud. We're incredible. What a season. But it is it's gutting to have not won a league in these circumstances with the list. When you go through the list of plaudits, I've said to everyone at the start of the season, so we're going to get 97 points. We're going to have the PFA Player of the Year. We're going to have 2 of the top goal scorers. We're going to have a young lad who breaks the records for assists in the league, and the fullback on the other side is going to equal the old record.
And only lose once.
And we'll lose once, yeah. And say to everyone, would you take it? And everyone's like biting your hand off. And then you go, just as a caveat though, we still don't win the league.
It's a piss take. It's like what Wenger said the other day. When you list it all like that, it's like we're cursed. There was a sort of realisation, we're just not ever going to win this. And not just, of course we know we can go again next season. It's a magnificent team. But it is the biggest piss take there's ever been in the history of the game to not win the league with all these circumstances.
This is going off on a tangent. Have you heard the Bruce Grobbelaar thing? I only heard this for the
first time. Just let him piss on the post.
Mate, this is my thing. We don't win the European Cup final. For anyone who's watching, because I didn't know, he's saying he got to, and the story doesn't make any sense at all. No. Like, he got
never mentioned it before.
So he pissed on the goalpost to the Kop end, but then I'd love to see this reenacted. He pissed on the goalpost to the Kop end, managed to get away with that, and as he's on his way to the Annie Road end, someone said to him, you can't do that, Bruce. So he's saying that to break the curse, he needs to fucking and walking along the pitch. I don't understand why we haven't already said, just do it, mate.
If we were like a mad Spanish or Italian club, we'd have had him on like every season in a row.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
If we were to lose the European Cup final, which I can't even comprehend, but if we were, the first thing that needs to happen is a phone call to Bruce Grobbelaar saying, get down here, lad, and piss all over these posts.
Drink a load of water on the car, in the car on your way.
I just like the idea that some groundsman's seen a middle-aged man with his cock out in the 6-yard box with a cop and go, what the fuck's going on here? Oh, it's you, Bruce.
But how did he get away with the Kop end first? Like the groundsman's not paying attention.
I know.
He's like, I don't know what Grobbelaar's up to there, but
Rob, we'll talk
That
about
bombshell.
we'll talk about the specifics of like the actual game of footy that we played yesterday and stuff in a bit. But I'll talk about how like weird it was to watch it and be a part of it, because we've never in my lifetime gone into a last day with a serious shot. There was 13-14 when it was basically already gone because we had to do the goal difference swing and stuff. But, I mean, we were watching our game, but you couldn't help but try and pay attention to the person who had a phone on that had updates from the other game as well, because it did all rest on that. It was just a really bizarre experience to be there and not be fully, 100% invested in what was going on the pitch.
I managed to, for a while, because, I mean, I've talked to Neil about this. We've all watched City endlessly over the last couple of months. And they're always playing when we don't play. So you have to, if you go and watch them, you're involved in it, you're watching it, and it's like supporting a shit team because we're all supporting the crap that they're playing. And Neil and I were talking, said, how can we avoid watching City? It was before the Leicester game. We said, climb Mount Snowdon or something, anything where your phone doesn't work. I said, I thought the only way you can not watch them and tolerate it is to be watching Liverpool at the same time. And I was quite happy watching Liverpool build up ahead of steam, getting our goal. But it was all brought back on us by that breaking news that Brighton had scored and all the false stories around them scoring another goal.
If you went in the ground, it basically went round the whole stadium at some stage that it was 2-0 to Brighton somehow. Someone somewhere has started that and it got round to everyone. And then the realisation came very quickly afterwards that it wasn't 2-0 and it was actually no longer 1-0, it was 1-1.
Yeah, that was a kick in the pants. I thought all we've done is taken City, they've taken them back to the beginning and they've pulled the tiger by its tail. I wasn't even celebrating a 1-0 to Brighton. Around me, people were up off their seats, punching the air, and I go, this is 1-0. They'll have, if City were in a slumber, they'll have woken them up. We wanted to hear that news on 75, not on 25. It wasn't ever going to be de facto a good thing.
Paul, it was just a really strange moment in the ground when you had people celebrating, other people finding out, other people just wanting to concentrate on Liverpool, and it felt like it affected the team, and it must do because, you look at the video and stuff afterwards, it's palpable that people are starting to go mad and stuff. Liverpool were playing quite well up until that point, and then I think afterwards it was difficult just because even the players can't play in a vacuum.
No, and even Klopp said in his press conference after the game, like, how do you prepare lads for that to happen? It's impossible to play football in that environment. They'll have never experienced that and might never experience it again. I did not enjoy yesterday at all, really. Like as a football match to watch. Talking about what Rob was saying, we went out to watch the Newcastle-Leicester game, and that was the worst experience I've ever had watching football. It was horrible watching that match.
Wait, the City-Leicester game, sorry.
I was trying to compute that.
The City-Leicester game,
It was horrible.
And it was horrible to watch it. And when you watch it when it's not in your hands, and I was thinking, even when the scores were coming through, firstly, I said to people before we went, you're better off actually not being in the ground, because I could tell that was going to happen. For people who don't go to the ground regularly, the signal in there is crap. You can never get good connection anyway. So to try and get score updates at the best of times is difficult. And I knew that what you'd start getting is some dickheads saying things and doing things. There's people around me, as you say, bouncing around, saying it's 2-0. And at that point, I was really annoyed because I'm watching our team with their heads falling off and Wolves coming in. We're only winning 1-0. I'm like, it's completely irrelevant. I'm with Rob as well because I was like, it's way too early. Even if Brighton were 2-0 up, I'd have still been sitting there going, well, City have got an hour to be the best team in the world and just blow them away. And we know what City are like when they've got a pure focus of what they need to do.
And they wouldn't have been, if they'd, at a goal down, if they were imagine they were being patient. They might have at 0-0 been being nervy and patient. I've not seen it back. It's quite possible. That's what we'd hope for. But you put them a goal down early on, you stop them being nervy. They're a team that's got a focus. Okay, they've got a challenge in front of them, but they're going to be much more focused. And absolutely. Yeah,
and so, I mean, my thing was, I'd actually, if the scenario happens again, I'd be all in favour of somehow putting an electromagnetic block around the stadium so we can't find out until the 70th minute. So it's just watch this match, everyone, because the main thing is we just need to win this game. And then on the 70th minute, if they turn it on and it's 1-0 to Brighton or 0-0, great. Now we can all start getting a little bit excited and enjoy both sides of it. But it was a really weird experience, I think.
It was strange. We're going to come back in a second and talk about the actual football and some of the players that played quite well in it. But for now, Neil Atkinson has had a look at how both teams set up tactically, so here he is with that.
Nuno Santos had a really interesting season as Wolves manager, and we got to see some of that in this game. They've gone on a little journey, and it seems like a subtle one, a soft one, but he's shifted his side from doing something that's a bit like this, 3-4-3 there, or 5-2-3 if you want to call it that way, to something that's back more sort of 5-3-2. Dendoncker plays, Moutinho plays and Neves plays. That is the three that sits in there for Wolverhampton Wanderers. The wing backs can be full backs, they can sit right the way in or they push right the way up. You see so many big switches, it's unbelievable at times from Wolves, and that's what they do and that's the plan. For me, I've got this thing that managers, on the whole, a lot of managers at the minute, they're almost looking for the cheat. And what I mean by that is they want their numbers, their numbers of formations to add one somewhere on the pitch. And I think if you look at Liverpool, I think Liverpool play 4-3-3 a lot of the time, but Klopp wants the midfield three to do the running of a midfield four, to occupy across the pitch as the wide midfielders. Sometimes when you look at the average position of those wide midfielders, certainly when it's Milner and Wijnaldum, they're almost like old school style wide left and wide right. Liverpool play 4-3-3, but in the manager's head, he wants that three to almost be like a four. So it goes like that there, or like that there, all the way through, and that's what it's about. What Wolves have ended up with this season, which is really interesting, is moving from the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-3 or 5-3, I keep getting it wrong, 5-2-3, sorry about that. What they've ended up with is this. So where's he looking to cheat? Well, where he's looking to cheat is the front two, and I thought the front two were great against Liverpool. I think Matip stands up really, really well. I think Jimenez gives Van Dijk his toughest game over the course of the season. But they're effectively almost operating at times like there's still three of them, but there isn't, there's two. And they've got to put the extra work and the extra running in. I think you saw that as the game played out. And then what you saw from Liverpool's point of view, because of the tiredness, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, the way Klopp actually changes it is to say, well, listen, I'll get rid of where I've got this extra man here, and what we'll do is we'll go to something more like this. And when Milner comes on, it was as though Liverpool went, you know what, we're just going to go to something that looks a little bit 4-4-2-ish. And what we're going to try and do there is protect the fullbacks, mean that they've got to run less, they've got less ground to cover, and protect that midfield three and help their legs a little bit and just buttress the situation. He didn't move Mane or anything like that. It was Milner and Wijnaldum who went out onto those wide areas, so tucked in a little bit, and Liverpool still had this. It was where Klopp was trying to do his players a favour. Santo done his players a favour much earlier in the season. They were getting overrun with the 3-4-3 week in, week out. Wolves, they were struggling to get themselves going, and when they moved to this shape is when they've absolutely put themselves into that 7th position. And they're a really good side, really physical side, loads of direct football, like I said before, loads of big diagonals, loads of good play as well. Moutinho's a little schemer in the middle of the park there. Neves loves the big ball, and Dendoncker is one hell of a unit who puts himself about. Cody too, stepping in, stepping out, doing the business there. Thought he was good on the day, but Liverpool won the game, and Liverpool won the game by virtue of their greater quality in key attacking moments. They won the game by virtue of their greater goalkeeper in key defensive moments as well. John Matip, excellent too. It's a good win for Liverpool under the circumstances. It doesn't feel it, but anytime you're beating this Wolves side, who are only going to get better, 2-0 at home, you're doing well.
Thanks very much to Neil for that. Back now with Rob and with Paul to talk about the actual game of soccer that was going on, although we might not be paying so much attention to it at this stage. But Liverpool score an opening goal that felt like it was needed at the time. Wolves were a really big physical presence, Rob. So to take the lead when Liverpool did felt like it was a really big moment.
Yeah, I was nervous. I mean, not just because I thought we were struggling to break them down a bit before then. We were being, for my money, a little bit too patient. We were playing well, probing. They were frightened of us. They were backed right off. But I thought we weren't penetrative enough. And I thought we've got to take a few more risks here, be a bit more direct, turn them, get the defenders turned around, get set pieces. You know, we're actually quietly a brilliant set piece football team coming forward. It was a good goal. It looks, when it goes in, I'm sure if you were a City fan watching it, if you hadn't been watching their game, you'd have gone, oh, fucking hell, Liverpool are so ruthless. Look how they just work it, get their man in a wide position where he can deliver beautifully. And there's the run from Mane, and they're in front. So I think at the point we score, it looks like it's a well-ordered plan. And obviously within a minute of that, the news that comes through, our heads start falling off in a massive way. I was so dying for us to get to half-time before we finally got it together again.
Paul, on the first goal and the way it happened, it struck me that it was very similar to Wijnaldum's one against Barcelona. Yeah. It's Trent getting in down the side, it's a cut back, it's a player arriving, no one can deal with it, goes in the net. Wolves will know that that's a thing that Liverpool do. They will know that that's what Alexander-Arnold's game is. They will know that Liverpool look to flood the box whenever there's a chance to. but they still can't stop it because Liverpool are so good at making that goal happen.
Yeah, there's loads of examples of this in footy now, and I'm made up we're becoming one of them. It's like a typical City thing, and it's the one I always remember sort of, and this goes back years now, is Arjen Robben with the drop your shoulder, come inside, top corner, and it's like everybody knows what he's going to do. Stop him doing it. You're like, I can't. I don't. Yeah. And you can imagine having a chat with the fullback who's squaring up every time. And he's like, I know what he's going to do. I know what he's going to do. But when he drops his shoulder, it looks like he's going that way. So what do you want me to do? And it happens with City all the time where they've just constantly got Raheem Sterling tapping one in at the back post.
Yeah. And they've overloaded on the fullback. And they go, he's going to overload on you. And they go, he's going to run in behind you now. Do you not? You know,
and it's one of them, isn't it? It might have been the Ken Early piece the other week when it's like they're constantly, teams like Liverpool and City are constantly giving you two options. And it's like, this one's bad, this one's worse. So it's easy to say, oh, well, you should go over and just help out your fullback. And it's like, but what about if we leave all these lads over here, they'll just pass it the other way. It's not like they have to pass it to Trent. They can go the other way as well. And there was a little triangle just before, which I've been banging on about for years. And it's like an old school City when under Mancini, just little triangles in that corner of the pitch. And it was Henderson playing Trent in. And once he's in that position and we flood the box, as you say, it's really difficult then to defend against. And I mean, incredible. Something I like about it as well is, and it was the same against Barca, the cross takes a little deflection on the way. I love little things like that because it can look like it's lucky, and obviously there's a stroke of fortune in it. But when you're playing these balls all the time, it's like Frank Lampard used to score deflected shots all the time. And people are like, oh, he's so lucky. You're like, well, he's constantly in that position doing that thing. So you get a bit of luck sometimes.
Yeah, I've noticed with Trent, he's now got two options, which is why people can't deal with him wide. They know if they show him round the outside, he's made up because he will then whip one right across your 6-yard box, like Beckham style. But if you just sit back, as I think the defender did on him by half a yard, try to show him inside, he's fine because he's got the cutback cross where he cuts right through the ball. And as you say, that's still going to put it on the penalty spot. So your choice is in the 6-yard box or on the penalty spot. One way or another, we'll have a man attacking it. As long as we get our bit right to flood the box, the delivery's immaculate. He does remind me, I have to say, some people might not like the comparison of Beckham, incredibly, in that position.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because even, it's slightly off topic, I suppose, but people have talked about constantly, like, where will he end up as a player? He's like the next Gerrard, he'll end up playing centre midfield. I think there'll be a big element of Trent now, and he got moved in I love the story of, like, the Alex Inglethorpe and others sitting with him and going, right, the way you get into this first team is to become a right back. And he must be sitting there thinking at 20 years old, I could be the greatest right back the world has ever seen. That's how good I can be in this position.
I think he's a wide player. I think there's a difference with Gerrard. Gerrard, you could always see from the word go out, he could be a centre mid, even when we've stuck him out wide. I've watched Trent as a youth player, even in the attacking positions he wasn't played fullback, he was in attacking positions. It was always like the wide position in a 4-2-3-1.
He played as the 6 for Pep though, didn't he? For a season.
Who did?
Trent played as the number 6 in a Pep Linders team when he was 16, I think.
Did he?
Yeah, and that's where really the talk has come from. Yeah. He can control the game from there.
Yeah,
but part of me thinks he'd be wasted in that position.
I mean, the way he's playing now for us, is he a fullback or is he a winger, a wide midfielder? I mean, it's hard to tell at times because we tuck in behind him so well. I think it might get to a point where it's academic just because of the way we're not exactly reinventing the fullback role, but it's such an attacking role. Yeah. Even if we get Wan-Bissaka or somebody like that at right back, he's not getting as far forward as Trent. He's still going to be doing that job.
No, and I think you could tell that yesterday him and Robertson were doing an awful lot of the job of the midfielders because the three of them I don't think had individually particularly good games. I think all of them to an extent look quite tired, and that's perfectly justifiable after what happened in midweek and the effort that they all put in there. But it's brilliant to be able to have the two of them, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, Rob, to come forward, make the runs happen first of all, that then create space for the attackers, but also to play the through balls, to play the crosses, to get a ridiculous amount of assists like they've got this season, to have that kind of mix between them being defensively very sound, but going forward, our biggest creative threat.
They are our wingers really, but in a sense, chalk on the boots wingers, touchline wingers. And that enables the three forwards we've got to constantly be between the posts as much as possible, and that's what you're looking for. Although I agree with you about the three. I don't think I thought Wijnaldum looked the leggiest of the lot of them, but I thought Jordan Henderson's movement was incredible and dynamism. you know, there's this polarity with Henderson where people go, he's shit, he's not good enough, he's not fit to lace Gerrard's boots, all that kind of rubbish. But I also think there's a bit of a football hipster desire to paint him as the greatest midfielder in Europe, which is equally bullshit. I think he's very good, and I think he's gone up a level since he's been put back in this number 8 role. I think he's really, really difficult to play against.
Paul, we've got to talk about Mane. He ends up getting the golden boot, sharing it with Salah. We'll come on to talk about the awards and stuff in a minute. But he gets the first one, as we mentioned, by arriving late, and the second one, again, is another header. Another piece of brilliant technique and movement to be, you know, relatively on his own in the area at that stage of the game. I don't think there's a footballer on the planet who's had a better 2019 than him.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And I don't know, I think part of me still thinks he's underrated, and I don't know whether that's just because I underrate him. Because it's like, it's crazy. Even when you see the list of the top scorers at the end, and he's there, not enough people are saying for me. And I think it should be a bit like goal difference in the league. It should be, they've all scored the same amount. How many pens have they got?
Well, absolutely.
None. He didn't take any pens. What position did he play for most of the season? Left side, like outside left, basically.
Does Aubameyang take penalties?
Takes pens.
He does, yeah.
And Salah's taken 3.
Salah's taken some. Aguero's taken them. And I don't think you can speak highly enough of what an achievement that is to match those lads, how great they are as all strikers, incredible goal scorers, and he's matched them without a penalty. And as you say, his heading ability, again, I don't think enough gets made of. His movement, and it must be a delight. I love when you get dynamics like that in a team where you've got a lad who can cross a ball like Trent, and you see it with Henderson crossing from that similar position, where like the deep, Gerrard used to cross brilliantly from there, like the deep line cross that swings it behind the defence, and the movement of Mane for those goals, and those headers are just they're as good a header as you'll see from a great like lump of a centre forward in the past, aren't they?
Yeah, he's a technically great header of the ball. What I like the way is he's constantly playing on the edge of the offside mark. Was he actually offside yesterday? Was there some shout that he might have been?
Apparently, maybe, possibly.
There
were shouts of VAR would have said he was offside.
I just think his head moves too quickly. And my great bugbear on any of these TV analyses of offside is some fella is pressing a button when he thinks the ball's being kicked.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult. I've said this before and I'll bore people endlessly about it. How do you know the exact millisecond or hundredth of a second that foot has touched that ball? Because that's the point where you freeze it and draw your little arbitrary lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
Well, he shared it with Mohamed Salah in the end, and Aubameyang, as Paul mentioned there. To have two footballers that have got to 22, regardless of the fact that, you know, Salah went for a bit of a stretch without one, and also a few of them are penalties. Arsenal are made up to have Aubameyang getting that amount. Tottenham are made up to have Harry Kane getting on to, I think it was 17 in the end with his bit of an injury spell. City are made up to have Aguero being the main fella. The fact that we've got two that can split that and get 44 goals between them, Rob, is stunning.
It is stunning. I mean, I still remember marvelling as a kid. It was just before I'd properly got into football. Liverpool had won the league in '76. And funnily enough, beating Wolves on the last day. And I remember looking through the stats, and our top two scorers that season were Keegan and Toshak, the legendary duo, with, I think it was, and I don't think my memory's that far out on this, 12 and 13 goals each. And that was kind of, when people used to talk about you want a 20-goal striker, they used to talk about including all the other goals. Our boys actually get pretty close to 30, don't they? Are they on 26 and 27 apiece, Salah and Mane, if you count all comps? And they've still got another game. Like that, got another game to go. Which is fucking ridiculous. 30 goals in all comps or close to that is very, very difficult. I mean, Firmino gets 16 all comps so far. He's missed a couple of games. That's brilliant. The strikers end up with that level, you're happy. It's off the charts.
With Mane as well, Paul, I think there's very little that's missing from his game at this stage. Maybe if he could take a free kick really well or something, that would be the only thing at this stage that you'd add in, because I've been looking at numbers for this show across the year, and he's always high up in like the tackles. He's usually in Liverpool's top 3 for making tackles, and people, you know, at this stage hopefully will put him in the same conversation as the likes of Hazard and Bale and Neymar and whoever else. They're not doing the graft. They're not doing the intensity that Mane is doing. So he's scoring 22 without pens, but he's also working extremely hard and intensely for the team at the same time. Yeah,
to play in this type of team and be that good going forward and do everything else, you can see how difficult it is to recruit players. There was a moment on the other side during the game where Salah tracks back and nicks the ball off someone on the edge of our own box, and you sit and watching it going, this lad scored 60 goals in 2 seasons and he's still doing that. I think something with Mane as well this season is he seems to have matured a lot to me. I said it after the Barcelona home game where when he's in that front three and his two like cool mates aren't there, you can tell he sort of goes, well, I'm the main man, I'll put my collar up, I'll box it off, don't worry about it, give me the ball, I'll sort it, I can hold it up, I can win tackles. He must be an absolute nightmare to play against.
Yeah.
Rob, I want to talk quickly about the goalkeeper just before we go. 21 clean sheets, and obviously, you know, the defence has an awful lot to do with that as well. There's a reason that Virgil van Dijk is Player of the Year, and he gets the Premier League Player of the Year awards as well yesterday. But even against Wolves, Alisson's making some saves that look actually really comfortable because he's out on top of the people just as they try and pull the trigger. But he's an incredible goalkeeper. He's not a flash one. He's not one who's making loads of saves that would make a brilliant highlight reel.
Yeah.
But he's been absolutely phenomenal all campaign long.
Yeah. I tend not to look at clean sheets. I know there's an award for it. It feels like a bit of a technicality, and some mediocre keepers can have big clean sheet records. I think more instructive is that there's a hell of a defensive record there. We finished on 22 goals conceded, and I think the keeper has to take an enormous amount of credit for that. That's a hell of a feat. But more than that, you can see, as you said, you can see with your eyes what he's doing. That was arguably one of his very best games quietly yesterday, wasn't it? He just did everything he did. I mean, probably in terms of spectacular saves, there's the one, isn't there, when the lad's bearing down on him at the cop end on the left. But it's just his general housekeeping and positioning and, yeah, his desire to sort of be involved in the game and be on the edge of his box. So he just snuffs out danger before it even gets close to happening.
It's his technique more than anything else. This is something, and I know there's other people who talk about this. There's not enough goalkeeping experts to talk. Not that I'm a goalkeeping expert, but in the sort of punditry world. So I think it all goes sort of unnoticed and underrated. The number of times he's just sort of like catching things that most other keepers would be scrambling for because his footwork's so good. And all these one-on-one saves, he seems to make one of these incredible one-on-one saves every game. And when you read about his technique in doing it, it's all because he's actively seeking the ball. He's not waiting for the striker to make a move.
Exactly, that's the point I was trying to make,
He's an absolutely incredible goalkeeper and makes the world of difference from what we had before.
Well, that one-on-one they have, they'd look at it, you can look at it afterwards. I was looking at it again this morning going, is that an amazing chance that they fluffed? No. By the time the ball's at that lad's feet and he's about to get his shot away, Alisson is so close to him that that's not a good chance anymore. I mean, it looks scary, but it's you know, he's not odds on to score.
Yeah.
Right, that is all that we've got time for from this episode of The Second Look. Thanks very much to Rob and to Paul for joining me. It hasn't ended with the league title for Liverpool, the Premier League season, but they are still going to go to Madrid. They are still 26 points and 2 victories better than Tottenham Hotspur so far this season. They've just got to make that count one more time, and then we get the big shiny silver thing to parade around Liverpool outside St George's Hall afterwards again. But yeah, thank you for watching this. Thank you for watching all of the episodes of The Second Look throughout the season as well. We'll be doing one from Madrid, but this is the last one. I think that will be available to view on YouTube. The rest will be on the Anfield Wrap app, which you will have to subscribe to watch. So if you haven't downloaded it already, make sure to. We've really enjoyed doing them. You know, we've been coming in on Saturdays and Sundays to sit here and talk about Liverpool because we want to share it with you. So your viewership is appreciated. I hope you've appreciated the content. For now, thank you very much for watching. All the best and up the Reds.